Hi. Oh, look who we have here. Yay. We have our two men coming in, two additional men. We have four men here and four women. This is really unusual. Not that anybody's counting, right? Welcome. All right, Dov, take us away.
Okay, take us away. Well, here we are, and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the truth. Only the truth is true, and nothing else is true. There's nowhere to go. Uh, there's really nothing to say, but we do find lots and lots to say. Uh, Roslyn asked me to start off because I'm only going to be here for the first half hour. I was invited to a Zoom call to teach a group in Colombia, South America. And of course, it'll be interpreted and it'll be available on YouTube after it's all done. I think it's streaming on YouTube as well. Anyway, make a long story short, I have really very little to say other than I'm going to be talking tonight on forgiveness. And yesterday I spoke at another group, which I think Lynn wasn't there. Hi, Franca.
Hi, Franca.
Hi, Rico, John. Uh, and that was on acceptance. And of course, my favorite go-to paragraph is, what can you not accept if you but knew that everything that seems to happen is gently planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good. So your willingness to just be here now and accept all things exactly the way they are is what brings the peace. The thing that seems to interfere with that is we listen to this voice made mad by guilt, but it's not our voice. It's an alien voice. And our willingness to say, is there another way to see this? Is there just another way to see this? The moment you question the voice, like, what is this for? I do not know. Or what, is there another way to see this? You're unhooking from that voice that will always keep leading you on into time, thinking that there's going to be an answer just around the corner. No, actually, there are no answers just around the corner. There's nothing in this world that can actually give you anything that you really need. My birthday lesson 133 is the one that says, I will not value what's valueless, what's valuable belongs to me. And that's pretty much what today's lesson is. I did put it up here in the chat. Maybe I'll re-put it up for those who came in a little late. Today's lesson on the Course of Miracles, very simply, is lesson 320. And it says, my Father gives all power unto me. Lesson 320. And it says, Jesus says, well, actually, this is a commentary from Ken Wapnick, which I always use. Jesus says that God does give all power to his son, but we are all his sons. So the way to the power is not only to see all as equal, as one, because if you think that you have the power and others don't, or maybe they have the power and you don't, that's the alien ego voice talking to you, telling you that things are a little unequal, that there's no justice in the world, and somehow you're being taken advantage of, or you're being deceived, or somebody has something that you don't have, someone is more special, or maybe you're more special. All those things that divide your full acceptance of what the Course in Miracles is saying is always given to you by the ego's alien voice of guilt. And of course, if you think that you're separate and apart, and you know that you're separate and apart, because after all, if I have something that others don't have, or maybe others have something that I don't have, that sounds like there's a lot of separation going on, and there's division. And that's pretty much what the world looks like. There's the haves and the have-nots, and it looks like there's no justice in the world. Yet the Course of Miracles in chapter 25, called The Justice of God, 9 sections that tells you that the justice of God is always perfect. All are given all by the love of God. And the first of the 3 lessons says the only way you can keep what's given to you is to share it. And so lesson one of the Holy Spirit's 3 lessons is to have, give all to all. Now, the ego cannot understand that at all. It says, what are you, crazy? If I give all to all, I'll have none left. So you're either operating under the ego's laws, which is the laws of chaos, or the laws of sacrifice, me first, and I don't care who loses as long as I win, or you're operating under the laws of God. And you find the laws of God in lesson 76. I'm under no laws but the laws of God. And the things that we value in this world really are valueless. What's valuable belongs to us. But again, the only way to actually have it and keep it is to give it, share it. In the one mind of God, everything is shared always equally by all. Because there's only one mind, there's one purpose, and all share that one purpose. And in this world, we have a purpose too. It's also one purpose. Let me remember my only purpose is to wake up from this dream of inequality, this dream of forgetfulness. And let me remember that all my brothers here share the same purpose. The truth is, we all want to be happy. And when it says, my Father gives all power unto me, the will of God, which is all power, anything God wills, we can do easily. And the will of God is to will that we live in perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness, lesson 101. And then lesson 102 is I share God's will for my perfect happiness. I share the one will of God for the happiness. So Jesus says, the one thing you got to watch out for, the only thing in order to be happy, he says, you got to give up being right. Because if I'm right, someone has to be wrong, and the ego always wants to win. So the only way you can be happy is, as he says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. You just can't. It's impossible. So one of my favorite lines in the course is that line in the Song of Prayer, page 17. He says, do you really think that you can sit in front of somebody who knows more than you, who has more than you, and one day you're going to be equal to this person, really? And Jesus laughs and says in a 2-word sentence, that's impossible. You're either always equal or you're not. And that's what God creates, is equality. So the key to the kingdom, or the key to remembering the truth of what we are, is certainly not only the peace of God, which is the key to the kingdom, but it has that one condition that all are created equal and we all share that same peace of God equally. And that leads to one quick story. Basically, I think it's Hafiz or one of them that says, if you really listen, not the way the ego listens, but if you really listen, everyone is your teacher. Everyone is your guru. And then that is the truth. If you really understand what true listening is, that's not too different than what he says over here. If you're blinded by the world, you cannot see the light in the world. You cannot see it. But as you dim the lights of the world, you begin to see the light everywhere. And that's the spaciousness of the freedom of being free of the ego. The ego just sees darkness. So if you agree with being right, you won't see the light. And if you give up being right, you are the light. You are the light. We are the light. And that's my 10-minute message.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know what I just associated to a story about who our teachers are. I love what you said about we're blinded to who our teachers are. We pick this one and not that one. And I want to share this story. It comes from a new book by Oprah with a neurologist. So it's a book about trauma, but it's also a book about perception. And so this little story I heard today, because I'm listening on audio, and there was a man in the Midwest, and he was very finely dressed, and he was wanting to get on an airplane, and turns out the plane was not going to take off because it was snowing very badly. And he had an attitude, and he was yelling at the flight attendant that was at the gate, and telling her that he had to get to this important meeting, and he was a very special man, and he had all these people waiting for him and all this important work to do, in a not very nice tone of voice, not the voice that I'm using now. He was yelling at her, and she was very calm and said, look outside, we don't control the weather, it's snowing, and so the plane can't take off, and we need to keep you safe. And I'm sorry, you can't make your meeting. Well, he was all mad, and he still went off yelling, and everybody was involved because he was so loud that everybody heard the story. But this little girl, maybe she was 3, she'd been given all of her needs. The neurologist was trying to describe the difference when you've been, for the most part, responded to with your needs. Then you have a kind of calm about you and a kind of self-regulation. Hi, Diane.
Hi.
So everybody else was kind of tense. There's this fight going on between a man and the flight attendant. And, it wasn't a very comfortable experience for everybody but this little girl, who had a point of view that all is well. I've been treated well. I'm okay. Basically, remember the old book, I'm okay, you're okay? That it kind of resonates with the quality of what Dov was saying. And so she goes over to him and makes an overture, and takes her sticky hand from whatever it is she was eating and puts it on his leg, on his fancy suit. And he brushes her off, and he starts wiping his pants from her sticky hands. And that doesn't deter her, because she is sure that he's a good and sweet man, just like she is a good and sweet little girl. So she thinks it's a game, and she thinks, let's slap each other, because life is good. And she starts slapping him, and he is overcome by her good nature and her goodwill. And he starts laughing, and pretty soon he's giving her a pony ride. He's on his all fours on the dirty airport floor, giving this 3-year-old a ride. And I mean, is that not a takeaway from A Course in Miracles, and from so many of the things that Dov has just told us? Any reactions to that? I mean, how powerful is that?
Yeah.
So I want to pick up on another part of what Dov said. He mentioned the dream. And if we're in a dream, and raise your hand if that's a little hard to remember all the time that this is a dream. It feels quite real, right? Raise your hand. I mean, does anybody? Yeah. I mean, if we start with that, we have started intimacy, because we only progress in our, and there's nowhere to go, but we only progress in our peace and happiness when we honor the truth. The Course says over and over, don't deny your feelings, don't pretend. If anything, it gets us more honest where we start seeing how we judge, how we start making someone better than somebody else. So it is really hard to remember that this is a dream. So what if we play it full on as we do, and just occasionally when the heat starts to go up, when we start to come out of peace, because we all have, and I could ask this as a question, don't we all have the experience of negotiating life from a peaceful stance on some days for some time, right? I mean, everybody has had that experience. Yeah. Now, the thing is, we say we're in the flow when it all goes our way. Isn't that what the flow really means? Yep. We don't mean the flow of life. We mean when it goes our way, we're just flowing with life, right? But we're really saying it all went my way today, so I'm really happy. So if we use our first opportunity of being out of the flow as our teacher, and use that as, oh, I'm waking up from the dream. Because this is the time that you're really asked to be present as the one. When you're in the flow and everything's going well, you're not really, it's all going. You're not questioning anything. Does that make any sense? That the minute we're having trouble is when we're being asked to either take this as a dream, in which case it's all right. There can't be anything in your dream that you're going to argue with. Who argues with their nighttime dreams? You may not like it. You might feel it's a nightmare, but you don't say it shouldn't have happened. You don't say blah, 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 take political sides on the stances of the people in the dream, right? Who does that? That would be insanity, right? But what is Dov right? This is looking without judgment, something else. So I'm offering that we have an opportunity to, instead of trying to fight the dream and say, I need to wake up, I need to see this as not a dream, I say, welcome the dream and see it as a roller coaster, and step off the roller coaster when it starts to feel painful because you stepped out, or upsetting or frustrating, use whatever word you want on the continuum. You don't need to wait for upset, to be 10. Anything that's not peace means we're fighting the dream, which means that we're fighting the truth. Because the truth is that we're one and we are being lived. We aren't separate people. If it's a dream, then there aren't any separate people. They're all the people of your dream, like at nighttime. But people have a great time in your dream at night. They do their whole thing. They don't say, oh my God, this is a dream, and what am I going to do now? No, they play full on. So what do you think of what I'm saying? Is that crazy making?
Maybe a little.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So tell me what's crazy making about it. Would you rather be fighting with, is this a dream or is it not a dream? How do you handle the idea that it's a dream?
Well, I guess I'm just like, I know that I'm the dreamer of the dream, and the dream, or if I want to say when I'm sleeping, I know that I'm dreaming. When I wake up, I go, oh, I've been dreaming.
Right.
And that seems real clear.
Mm.
The more you talk about it, or not just you,
Mm-hmm.
that comes up, the discussion of the dreamer and the
Mhm.
dream, and it can get confusing.
You know,
So
I think that's good. I think that's
good. Oh,
yes,
great.
I think it's really good. And that's why I'm so happy that you're willing to talk about it and that you all raised your hand, that it is hard to deal with this in the sense of it feels so real. And we go into a kind of hypnotic place where you can't think and you don't know. Do you know what I mean about that hypnotic place? You hear that it's a dream, you read it in the course, and it doesn't go anywhere. Like some other things you can think about where you're not hypnotized. We've all been hypnotized since we were itty bitty that we're separate people. There's Robin and there's Rosalind and there's Diane and there's Franca. And, what is hypnosis? It means that you don't see what's in front of you and you do see what isn't there if you've been hypnotized. So it doesn't take much on this because we do have different bodies. Nowhere does it say your bodies all look the same and you're just imagining it that they look different. We are different localizations of the one. But what if it's as simple as we are being lived? There are no actual doers of the dream, that we're just in the dream, that we could actually let go. What if it were that easy? I know it gets into hypnosis and the mind can't think. Has anybody's mind just kind of stopped with what I'm saying? Like it doesn't even progress from this thought to that. It just stops. I used to know when I was doing therapy that when I was the therapist, if I couldn't think, like my mind just went to this kind of hypnotic stopping, I knew I hit pay dirt. I knew it was really important. That I hit something that was, and even in myself, if I get to this place, I think that's really valuable. So if we just, the reason I say it's great, Robin, is it's an opening, it's a portal to when we're so sure, like Dov says, when you know you're right, or you're certain who your teachers are, there are no openings at all. This, at least we can say, I don't know what to make of this. And maybe I'm being lived and maybe I'm not, but how would it change things? Let's just run with it a minute. What if you were being lived just like a tree is being lived, that it doesn't have a separate will? Just let's play with that. How would your life be different? Anybody? Would it be harder? Would it be easier? Would you?
I'd say easy. I just sit back, go for the ride, and let it be.
And do you realize that you would actually you would be moving? You wouldn't just lay on the couch, right? You'd be moved. Like the motion is go do this, speak this. It is exactly what the course is saying. It's just that the training wheels, from my point of view, and I know this is radical, I'm getting more and more radical as the time goes on. The training wheels are to believe that we have a separate will. And other places in the course, it says there is only one will. But choose again makes it sound like there's a chooser, a separate person, a separate somebody. But the other places it says there is only God.
I always thought when they said choose again, Rosalind, they were talking about reach for the truth.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. But what if everything is of God? Everything, every single thing. So even what isn't the truth is the play of, because not all the weather is sunny. So it doesn't all look friendly. It doesn't all look happy. It doesn't all look kind. That is the nature of this localization of manifestation. Don.
For me, Rosalind, there is, as you say, only one power, but it's expressing in two ways. You could say negative and positive. So, and the only thing that I can do is to choose either which one of those two. But they're both expressions of God. They're both good and evil. It comes from one source. What we call good or evil, bad or whatever. So the ultimate choice is to choose the right mind or the wrong mind. And that's what I can go with. So
it does say that in the Course, and it also says that there is only the one.
Yeah, there is only one, but it expresses in two ways.
But in this world of manifestation, but in the oneness, there aren't two polarities. There's only what is.
No, but this is an illusion. This is the dream. This is
Right.
the dream, so that we live in the dream. So we don't want to get our levels confused.
Mm-hmm. Dov, what do you have to say?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks for asking, because I have a couple more minutes left. Everyone's right. And the way I see it, I think you nailed it when you said it's an all or none kind of situation. Either we accept all at that polarity as the equal same, or we accept none as the equal same. But once you get in the middle, which that old song, No Mr. In Between, you remember, accept the positive and eliminate the negative, no Mr. In Between. The reason you don't want an in between is that's where the ego loves to live, because if it's in between, you got to choose, and choosing in this world of form is judgment. And what I put up from Ken Wapnick is exactly speaking to it. It says, this looking without judgment in gentle laughter is the meaning of forgiveness. If you just look at it and smile, you're not caught up in it. You're not attached to it. You're not invested in it. But if you're in the in-between part and you say, well, this person sounds right, and maybe this other person is right, maybe I'll choose this person over that. That's called, in Course terms, that's sacrifice. And sacrifice is the one idea behind all of the world's pain and suffering. Sacrifice is the idea that I can judge one over the other, that I have the ability. That's why the easiest way out is my old mantra lesson, lesson 25. I do not know what anything is for. Because if I think I know what something is for, I am the ego. Only the ego knows what everything is for, because it gives meaning to everything. Actually, lesson 1 tells you nothing I see here means anything. But if you think it means something, you're listening to the ego.
Well, I had an experience today
Please.
of,
Hi, Diane.
hi. I had an experience today, and it just like superseded everything that we were talking about. And I've been kind of under the weather with various issues, and I have a person that she's like a prayer specialist. She she does prayers and magic happens. And I was really in bad shape with my control of my own thoughts and everything else. And so she started praying, and she did it for about half an hour. And at some point, right near the end, I realized that I had totally left this sphere and been, it was actually the place of healing, because when I came back and felt my body, it was like totally, completely calm. There was not a cell in my body that wasn't completely peaceful. And it was, and I didn't know where I'd been. And, you know, when I analyze it or something, it's like, yeah, it was the place of one and the place of healing, because when I came back, there was no differentiation whatsoever in inner, outer, where I was, what I was doing. I mean, no differentiation. And it was really an incredible experience of going to the core, going to the real essence, where there only is one. There is no anything else. There's no this and there. And you know, just for that moment, it
Mhm.
was so incredible to just be in that place and not think. I wasn't thinking either.
Exactly. The mind can't get there. The mind
No,
cannot, and the chooser can't get there. It's beneath that. I love this story, Diane. It's the beingness. It's the isness. It's the I am. It's the one.
and
Wow.
and how do we get there? I don't know.
But then that goes us back to the separate self.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. And
right.
for that moment when I came to, it was
Yes, you were there,
I
but you
was,
had the experience and you claim it. And I think what takes us off the journey is then the trying to get back there, but using that as your teacher, as that experience in your whole being. And now we have that too. You shared it with us in such a beautiful way that we know that we can step out or step under or step behind the chooser and step under the dream and behind and out of the dream. And then there's just the one.
yeah.
But the mind cannot do it, and the mind wants to. Mind wants to real badly.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So beautiful, Diane. Thank you. So glad you came to tell us at just the right moment. Who has a problem with what Diane said? Doesn't that in your heart make sense? Yes, raise your hand if it makes sense. Not John, it doesn't make sense.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
But can you resonate that there is a place beyond good and bad, beyond the dream, beyond the right and wrong?
Absolutely. But what her story is a fantastical thing, which I have no knowledge of. And so like, I mean, for me to make judgments on that, it's
No, we're not judging that, her story. We're just saying, I'm just asking, do you resonate with that place-like place? It's not a place in geography, but it's
a state. It's a
yes.
hypnotic state. It's a hypnotic state.
Well, let's call it the
She's
truth.
trance-like.
Let's call the hypnosis what in our dream, and let's call that the truth. What if we just try it on? What if that's the truth? That there's just the letting go and the beingness underneath all of our choices and all of our deciders in the dream.
Every time I sit in meditation, I try to go there, Diane. That's where I try to go. Even though they say don't have no goal in meditation, I'd be lying to myself. That's where I kind of go. Where I come from, we call it the void.
Void.
And that's where I try to go when I sit and meditate.
But sometimes, Rico, you don't have to try. Sometimes your car drives somewhere. You don't remember how you drove there, right?
Oh, yeah. I was drunk, though.
All of us. It takes over in the spaces when we're not paying attention. When, as a child, if you're daydreaming and just in that state of nothingness, people would say to you, pay attention. What are you doing? We knock it out of us and we tend to ignore it as though it's as though that's the dream rather than this other thing that we do. It's just playing with you, just the voice of untying the bows. It just makes sense to me. Everything has been different since I stepped out of suffering with Melissa. And I have struggled with how to say it because it isn't words. but I can step in and step out. I can be like in a play. And then if it starts to be upsetting or it feels like there's a person, I can drop right back out into, if it was all right that Melissa died, there's nothing else in this dream that can take me if I remember. So that's why, I mean, I can't take away your beloved and give you the same experience, but I can offer the words because I know this can be yours too. And I know it is yours. It's just what we claim as truth and what we claim as the dream, I think is reversed. Just an
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Because when I was there, I didn't have thoughts and nor awareness of any other. It was just there. I was
And,
just
yeah, when I gave that talk on Sunday, I realized I didn't have the words to drop back behind the separate self. I did a talk for some of you who hadn't been there that was talking about letting go the tug of war. You've seen that slide of the tug of war, and that all different situations, it seemed like the same to let go of it. But when I listened to the people at the end, when they were telling me, how it was helpful, I realized I never spoke to going underneath being a separate person. And I don't quite have all the words for that yet. So they were saying how relieved it felt to drop whatever the upset was. And that may come in time or it may not. So working with that. Let's Dov, how are you doing on time?
I have to leave
7:38,
now,
you
but
need to go,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Well, we'll say goodbye to Dov and thank you. And I think we'll do a meditation now. And let's just play. Let's not make it serious. Let's not have a goal. Let's just see what happens and allow life to be our teacher. I think that there's a touchstone that we can find to return to that can be our teachers. Dov talked about finding this teacher and that teacher, but there is a wisdom that we can recognize when we experience it, like Diane did, and like we did, most of us, when we heard her story. So I like to start with the upset. So let's find something, small or big, that upset you recently. And get into how you took it so seriously and something was wrong or somebody was wrong or why did it happen, or basically the contraction of no to whatever was happening. And let's examine contraction a minute. Let's just feel our bodies tightening to that no of what's going on. And feel ourselves closing in on whatever. And it's almost a fight stance against what happened. And we do that in the dream. We do it regularly. And we can say yes to even that. So if you would join me in feeling the contraction, and now say yes to the contraction. And see if anything in your body just opens when you say yes. I'm not saying yes to it should have happened. I'm not saying yes to I agree with whatever. I'm just saying yes to what it is. That moment happened. that moment of upset happened, and you had your opinion, and that was fine. In this instance, we're not going to choose again. We're just going to allow what is. And take a deep breath into what is, what was, what is. And this new moment, allow deeper and deeper opening to this moment. And let's find a boundary of this so-called body. The body exists just like trees exist. It's a manifestation of, as John said, the one power. It's a manifestation. But what we think we are is our dream. And when we confuse ourselves with our bodies, we're off in the dream. But now we're going to say yes to the body. The body's here. And so find an edge of your body. Pick either your butt on the chair or your feet on the floor or your fingers on whatever they're resting on. And pick an edge and push into that edge. And if it's the chair under you or my hand is on a pillow, or if it's my foot on the ground, push into it. And notice it's really a little hard to find the edge anymore. And let's go beyond that edge and open into the next place-like place. And maybe that place-like place is the room. And let's allow the room to hold us like the chair held us. And acknowledge the ceiling and the floor. And for a moment, just thank it for holding us. And now let's push out from the ceiling into the building, beyond the building, into the sky or the clouds. And imagine it's a windy day and the wind is interacting with you. But where's the wind start and you end, or you start and the wind ends? Can you see that it's arbitrary? This you is that's defined in a body. We decide, but it's not actually as clear as we decided where we end. The wind starts. Remember the trees that look separate, but you go underground and they're all connected. It's not a metaphor. They're all connected. And if we go back to the wind, let's call ourselves the wind today and say, I, the wind, interact with you, the person. It starts to get all mixed up in a really good way when we start to be less sure of who we are. Then everything is open to possibility. Science says we are potential. We can't be in Kansas and in Texas. So we can't be separate people and the one. But when we're the one, we're everyone and everything. Equality. There are no places that stop our edges. There are only bodies that get old and turn into something else. But the you that is you is eternal, limitless. Just like the wind, it appears to come and go. It interacts with the ocean and the waves and the sand and the rocks. And pretty soon, we can't tell what's what. And the wave, if it had a consciousness, could say, oh, I'm separate. Look at me, I'm a bigger wave, or I'm a smaller wave, or I'm not as pretty as that other wave. But saying it wouldn't make it anything but what it is. It's just the water of the ocean. Just like you, you're still everything, even when you think you're not. And so when you want to come back into the room, notice your body. You welcome the contraction. See if the contraction is still there. See how you feel about what formerly upset you. And just breathe. We can claim this as reality rather than a meditation and bring this peace with us, this sturdiness, this oneness, this knowing of our experience, and see if it informs anything in our lives. Let's be experimenters. Let's be open vessels to being taught. Let this be our touchstone. Let's go back and visit this when we get upset and maybe consider this as the truth that we can bring to our upsets, and see if we can step out of the upset into the truth by saying yes to the upset, because everything is what it is. There's nothing wrong. It's only thinking that makes it so. If it happened, it is. And we can go from there and bring the light, just like that 3-year-old brought the light to that man who thought he'd lost his sanity. Came back, just like we can come back. So I welcome you back into the room. Dov writes a lot of things in here. He writes, I'll read it to you. The holy instant, the eternal moment of now, limitless, infinite, before all dreams, after all dreams, blessings of peace, light, and happiness to all. Love and appreciate you. John, how are you?
I'm amazing, thanks, Rosalyn. I liked what I just saw, no differentiation, because that was great. When we, for me, the biggest highlight, and I got to say it, is when the waves I'm more pretty than you, and or I'm bigger than you, or whatever story they got. That doesn't make it any, so it doesn't make any difference. They're just a wave, so that whatever they say, it's meaningless, so I applied that to my story, and my story was a big story, or a big, what is big, what's little, but it's a long story. And I'm really happy, that I'm just a wave, and whatever I say doesn't make it so. So I'm super grateful for that, Rosalind. Make no mistake. And how I know is I can calibrate the tension in my body, the muscular tensions in my muscles, and that's my first clue that I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
So, thanks for asking. Let me share that.
Yes, I appreciate that. And let's claim it. Let's claim it as truth. We claim all kinds of things that are not true, feelings that come and go, thoughts that come and go. And then we have these amazing experiences of letting go and relaxation. And then we say, oh, that was just a state. That was just a meditation. That was nice. That was really nice. But let's claim it as our reality. Let's claim it as our teacher and our own personal guide. And we can come back to this at any moment because it's always there. Always. Those waves will always teach you, John. All you
I've got them written down, Rosalind, and I would like to identify with these as much as I identified with my old story, because it boils down to identity, who and what I say I am. So
yeah.
So you're right. This is where I would like to be focused on. It's not more beautiful or less beautiful or more loving or less loving or anything like that. It's just a wave.
Yes. Yes, it's all nothing in the dream. Nothing, And if we have an opinion and we're moved, then we're supposed to be moved. We're supposed to react. It's all of the one. So we don't have to be the judge of any of it. And if something feels wrong, like a dog is being mistreated or a child is being mistreated, and you feel the movement, you move, and that's what's to be also, right? We don't even have to think about. We can let go, like Rico was saying, how pleasant that would be to allow ourselves to be lived, if that is the truth. But you can experiment with, when I went to India, they were 1995. I didn't get it, but I heard it. And he said, this won't be popular. There were like 70 therapists at this seminar with this Indian guru. And he said, you're not going to get clients saying this stuff. This is not popular. What's popular is tell them to have a goal and give them ways to get this goal, and you'll be filled. But the thing to do, he said, is to see, does this bring you more peace or less peace? Bring it into your life, and you be the experimenter, and you decide what's true based on your experience of applying this. This is about, are you being lived, or are you a person who has choice? That was the question. He was saying there's no free choice. He said in the West, you believe that there is free choice, but what you don't see is that you hurt yourself all the time with your choices. Why did I choose that? I should know better. This lesson again, I'm getting another lesson. You constantly hurt yourself with lessons and goals. And it's a way of really describing your lack of peace with what is. I need a new goal because I'm not good enough. That's what's underneath. But he said, try it out. And that's what I did. I used to come home from there, and I still had an active psychotherapy practice. And I would say something. I had a very critical mind in those days, long time ago. and I wasn't as aware of how much the judger hurts the one who judges. And so I would do my best in a psychotherapy session. And then afterwards, I'd say, before I went to India, I'd say, why did you say that? You shouldn't have said that. That wasn't, blah, 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 blah. But then when I came back from India, the voice started, why did you say that? You could have said this, or you didn't. And it was like, well, I don't even agree with saying that. The words came out of my mouth. So obviously it was to be said. And those times when I didn't agree and words came out really helped me open to this business of what's to be. When I was at this seminar with the Indian master, there were about 75, 78 people there, and maybe 70 were Germans. And I think I told this story, maybe Isabel knows from, I don't remember, I might have told it at the TV, whatever it's called. But I said to myself, I'm not going to ask this question that I'd like to ask about being the daughter of Jewish parents who left Nazi Germany, because the place is filled with Germans. I just met them. I don't know if I should say this. I won't say this. I raise my hand. I'm going to say something else. What comes out of my mouth was exactly what I said I wouldn't say. And it was the thing that healed my parents' Nazi experience. And it was the thing that released me from distancing from my parents, because it was too much overload, their whole Nazi experience. People came up to me, these Germans, like a man said, oh, can you ever forgive me? I was a young boy. And then I realized, oh my God, you just told me you were a Nazi. And then and then it changes nothing in my heart. I totally could take that man in my arms. I was no longer representing my parents and all of their issues. And then I'd be having breakfast with someone. And then I realized, oh, the story that he just told me was that he was high up in the Gestapo, and it changed nothing. And then a woman came up to me on the beach, real close. We had bathing suits on. I never spoken to her. She had a big chest, and I don't mean sexy chest. She just looked like armor. You know how somebody can be big and soft, or somebody can be big and feel like armor. And she came straight up right near my body. Never spoke to her. She didn't say hi, or was my name, anything. She said, if I were your parents, I would never forgive. And she was German. And it turned out she had the opposite role in her German family that I had in my family, where we were trying to move our parents along in their forgiveness or in their acceptance to what happened, or to just letting it go. But could I have ever decided to go to India to resolve my parents' German? I mean, there's no way. How could you would go to Germany if you were saying, well, I'm going to be on this. And so everything changed after that. I visited my parents, and they had never told their German friends their own stories of how they escaped. They'd never talked about it because they were so traumatized. And everybody began telling each other their stories. And, I felt so much more love for my parents. I'd been pushing them away because they were so burdened that as a child, that was all I could do, not to feel all their pain. So this is just stories about my experiences with letting down that belief that there is a chooser. And just things to consider. Do you use choosing to bring you more peace, or do you use choosing to hurt yourself about what you did wrong or correct yourself with judgment? Just notice, because it helped me to see that it's beyond our choice. You know, that's just my experience, but you have your own, and test it out and do what the guru said. See which brings you more peace. Believe you're a separate person and you make your goals and see how it goes, if it brings you more joy. But notice not just the days that you win, but how many days you don't make your goal and you hurt yourself. So, comments, anybody?
Just quickly, I'll say it reminds me of Byron Katie saying, arguing with what is, you lose 100%.
There you go, John. Yeah. So the isness of life can be our teacher. It happened. Why are we fighting with it? Robin, does it sound confusing? No. Makes sense. Yeah, if it's true, if this is true, it should feel grounding. It should feel like, how are you, Franca?
Yeah, it makes me realize how much I question what is, so I really appreciate this, Rosalyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynn, you've been quiet tonight.
Namaste, beautiful people. I can relate to saying something, then wondering, why did I say that? What? It happened. I shared a trauma at one of the meetings, and I'm thinking, why did I do that? Why did I feel, so someone told me that I helped them by sharing it.
Yes.
So, and I realized I didn't know why I shared it.
No, you can't know. Yes, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Lynn. Yes.
I wanted to say before, Rumi, I paraphrase, he said, the antidote is in the poison.
Love that. Cindy, how are you tonight?
I'm well.
Yeah.
I'm
do you have
well.
any reactions to what's gone on?
Yeah, it's just all been perfect. I just love it when because I've been looking at forgiveness and I've been really looking at judgment. I think you were on a call with me about a week ago in another group, and I had the exact same experience, Lynn, and also what you did. I was going to share something and I ended up sharing something completely different. What came out of my mouth, I have no idea. And and I think you even in a chat mentioned judgment. So I wasn't realizing that I was trying to bring presence to something to dissolve it, which of course means I was judging. And I wasn't looking at it like that. I had this perception that when we have an issue, we just take it into presence, pure presence, and illusion will fall away and truth will be there. However, I guess if I do that, I'm judging it, right? I'm saying,
if you're trying to change it and get rid of it, yes.
Yeah.
I don't want this. You're saying no to it. Not go away.
Yeah. Going with an expectation.
Yeah.
So this has all been just perfect and beautiful. And so out of that, the other person said something about, well, I'm hearing a judgment. And I went, So it ended up, Lynn, being perfect. It was just, I guess I said what I needed to say. So
Yeah, it's beautiful.
this has all been wonderful. Thank you.
Beautiful. Rico, how are you doing?
Right this second, it's the best day of my life because I'm grateful that you guys share your reality instead of some story you want somebody to believe to create this image of who you want somebody to think you are. You remove all that, and the God within you talks to the God within me. So when I'm in that kind of audience, I'm in my seventh heaven.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better.
Yeah, authenticity. We respond to that, don't we? Yeah, truth. We know truth when we hear it, when we feel it. Oh, thank you, everybody. I guess we've gone over time. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Rosalind. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
much. Love you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Love
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Everybody have a
everyone.
great
Thank
night.
you, Rosalind.
Bye.
Hi.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
Jenny. Hi, Isabel.
Hi. Bye.
Bianca,
Thank you,
Stephanie, Robin,
everyone.
Diane, to y'all,
Thank
Rosalind.
you. Thank
Love
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.